Hello. So today what I want to show you is one of the things that we do for our vehicle, and that is a fuel and maintenance log. This is something that's pretty easy that you can do yourself. All you really need is some columnar paper. You can find it pretty easily at that site right there, formspurds.com. We'll try to put a link in the description. You might be familiar with this particular style of paper if you're used to ledgers, but you can pretty much adapt it to anything. So we'll show you what we have here. Usually we put in the date, description of where we were, where we happened to get fuel, the odometer reading, very important. Our odometer goes to tenths, so we have the tenth of a mile there. Yours might not, so you might only use these middle six here. Fuel number one, which in our case is diesel. You might end up using gasoline for that. Depends. Fuel number two, for us, that's DEF, otherwise known as diesel exhaust fluid. You might not have that. You might have something else. It's up to you. But also we have over here the tow mileage. Now, this is actually pretty important because this helps to drive for us when we need to do maintenance, because there's usually two schedules of maintenance, especially for diesel vehicles when you're pulling an RV. That's going to be your regular schedule, which most people are going to have, but then you also have your severe schedule, which is usually used for things like really bad weather or towing an RV. Usually you'll need to do your maintenance a little more often. But yeah, this is pretty much it. And then what we also do, like right here, we also list that we're going from a light setup to a heavy setup when we do it and where we do that. Obviously, that's not going to have a fuel marker, but it is going to have tow mileage. And then heavy back to light. Note the tow mileage. And that's pretty much how we do that. And then it pretty much goes on. Once you run out of paper, you just go to a new sheet. Now, the other thing that we do is maintenance. Usually it's a good idea to write down these sorts of things so you have a good record of when your last services were and when you need to do them next. Because usually you can't necessarily depend on one place's computer system, especially if you're an RVer, because the place might not be available everywhere. And so you go to a new place, they'll be like, oh, well, you need absolutely everything. No, you don't necessarily do that. So once again, it's date, where we did it. The mileage when we got in there, mileage when we came out. Once again, I do it in tenths. You might not have tenths. That's up to you. And you want to do kind of your really important ones, like your next oil change. For me, that's 7,500 miles when severe, 15,000 when not. So I do an H and an L to determine what sort of oil that I did get, because there's a higher quality one and a lower quality one. They both work fine. Usually you want the higher one when you know that you're going to be pulling soon. But it depends. And so like I'll put when the next one is going to be due. So that one, I knew it was going to be 7,500 because I knew I was going to be towing pretty soon. However, like with this one, we have both the 7,500 and the 15,000. I didn't know. And it ended up just being 15,000. Fuel filter, that's a big one for diesel vehicles. Got to do that every 15,000 miles. Yeah, we were a little bit late on one of those. It happens. But then you have all the miscellaneous ones. You got things like differentials, transfer case, transmission fluid. There's probably quite a few others that I'm not thinking of right now, but it's mostly because they don't come at this particular mileage yet. We'll get to them eventually. And obviously notate which service I did and when the next one is. You can also notate tire rotations on here if you want to. Usually you want to do those every single time that you do an oil change, but it really depends upon the outlet that's doing your oil change. whether or not they even do it. So that's pretty much what we do. Once again, this sheet is also available at formsbirds.com. Link in the description. Might have said form spines earlier. It's forms birds. That's pretty much it. So hopefully this helps you with keeping track of your fuel and your maintenance. Usually the auto service techs usually like to see something like this, because then they know that you know when you've done your services last, when you're going to need to do the next ones. And they will help you out with this sort of information, especially if you do your first one at a dealer. So that's pretty much it. And we hope that you like, share, subscribe, click the notification bell, and as always, follow your internal compass.